Did you have enough to eat?
What?
Did you have enough to eat in those days?
Oh yes, we had our deep freeze and our ice boxes full, and that's what we lived on.
Who did you see besides Russell Means? Anybody else?
Oh, yes.
There was there were 5 AIM or 6 AIM that took us over, and that was Russell Means, Dennis Banks, Carter Camp, and Stan Holder, and
Couple of
Belfort.
Chippewas,
the Belfort.
2. We had 2 Chippewas there.
Oh yes, those
Mention.
were guards. There were 2 Chippewa boys who were related to us by the name of LaGarde, and they were our guards. So there were 6 main AIM though, per dog.
Yes, and plus the printer of the very famous paper of Pine Ridge. What's the name of it?
Oh, De Sousa.
Black Elk's son-in-law.
Aaron De Sousa was also in
That's the
there.
one we're talking about.
Yeah.
What about, didn't you ask somebody for your ring back for one of the girls?
Yeah, one of the girls that I figured had my ring, she was living with Dennis Banks. I ran after her and asked her she'd give me the ring back, keep the turquoise and other jewelry, but just give me the wedding rings back. And she said, I don't have your rings, and if you don't let me alone, I'm going to tell Dennis Banks on you. So that's all I could do was let her alone. I couldn't get my jewelry back, and never have seen it since.
They didn't abuse you? I mean, push you or hit you or anything, did they?
No, just ordered
Walked
us
off, yeah.
at the point of a gun.
Tried to push you around.
Yeah.
Well, that,
Yeah, one of the cooks in Dennis Banks' house was going to hit me, and Girlie came up behind and she said, "You hit her, I'll hit you."
I said, you son of a bitch. Don't you touch her. Just like that. And she chased me.
She had her fist drawn, she was going to hit
She
me.
was going to go right after me. But I had an armed guard there. I never went anywhere without an armed guard.
No,
Dennis Banks would always see that we had an armed guard.
Also, this time they had cleaned the museum out
well,
of everything.
by this time the museum was cleaned out.
And there's nothing left in there.
No,
And they had looted the store completely. One day I thought I'd go over to see just how bad it was. I didn't know really how bad it was. However, I'd watched them carry stuff out by the hour out of the store. And I went over and there was one fellow laying on his back under Agnes's checkout, checking the notes under there that you had made. And that turned out to be one of Black Elk's relations.
oh yeah, the one related to Ben Black.
I told you who it was, but I can't remember the name. But anyway, I walked the full length of the trading post, and there was an Indian woman in there I didn't know. She was swabbing the deck, and that was down toward the east end of the building. That's where she was working. So I walked from there back into Jim and Jan's quarters, which were our old quarters, and looked that place over, and it was not very nice back there either. So I went down into the far west part where we had a lot of the artifacts that you sold there, the stuff that you sold, some Navajos and some shoes that were made by Indians on the Pine Ridge Reservation, but made in a factory at Pine Ridge, giving the Indians employment. That was the idea, and we were trying to help them. And there was not anything but 2 or 3 small pieces of broken pottery that was left. We'd had a very nice stock of pottery, and lots of other articles that were Indian made and were sold in that part of the trading post. But everything was cleaned out. It was just cleaned out. Nothing there to sell. Everything was gone. Stock was entirely gone.
5 big boxes of pottery that hadn't even been opened. They were getting ready to mark them.
But it was cleaned out.
They took everything.
What about your Indian? I mean, the one right there at the reservation. Did you see much of them in these 11, 12 days, 14 days?
Some of the Indians, our Indian friends like Rose Shop and some of them came into the house.
Yeah.
And because they wanted to see for themselves
About
how we had been treated.
about what day? I mean, was it?
That was the next morning. 5 of our
Second day, you
Indian,
mean?
Yeah, the second day. 5 of our Indian women that traded with us and were good friends of ours came to see what it was all about. And they sat in our kitchen and we talked with them. We told them we didn't know at all yet
Why this
why it
happened.
was. And so then AIM made them get out.
Rose Shot had to have some milk for her baby, and you told her that everybody else is helping themselves. Go
Well,
on
help
over there and
yourself.
get it. You might as well. But several of them that were true to Jim and Jan, they'd bring things over to the house like clothes and things.
Who's
so
going
that we
to
could
tell
give it to
them?
them.
Did you see little Annie and all this time?
They never got back in again.
At one point there was Indian boy was looking for, he had a whole slug of stuff that he had taken out the store that was shirts and pants and things. So
In their wrappers, yeah.
he got my Samsonite out and he was filling it with these shirts and things. And
Agnes, it was my Samsonite. I was all packed, ready to...
my big suitcase, yeah. And I said, you came and got me, and you said, he
just dumped my clothes right on the floor.
and he's taking your
He's taking the suitcase.
And so I said to him, that's my suitcase. What are you doing with it? He said, you mean it was your suitcase? And so I wanted that Samsonite. So I had a brown suitcase that was brand new, beautiful leather suitcase. And it was man size, you know. And I told him that I would gladly trade him the Samsonite for that brown suitcase. And when he saw the brown suitcase, he said, fine. He said, I'll trade you. So he filled it with all of the shirts.
He had us pack it.
Yeah, we packed it for
Down
him.
on our hands and knees and packed that for him.
And there were about 12 men's shirts, all folded and still in the plastic bags. And underwear, men's underwear, socks, and anyway, the suitcase was full. And he went on merrily on his way. And another incident was a big peace pipe that we had, one of the many we had in the arts and crafts division. And one of the Indians had taken it out the store and brought it over to our house and laid it up on the shelf over the kitchen sink. So we were eyeing that peace pipe. Must have been about a $50 or $60 peace pipe. And so some of the FBI told us if there was anything we wanted to save in the line of beadwork or anything like that, or trinkets, to mail them out, and they'd take the mail out for us. We'd give them the money and they'd mail them. So I was fixing a box to go to Virginia to my daughters, and I spied this peace pipe. So I got it, and I packed it in this box and sealed it up, and the FBI man went out with the box, and in about a half hour the Indian came in, and he was looking all over for his peace pipe. So he said to me, did you girls see a peace pipe up here on the shelf? He said. And trembling in our boots, I said, Mary, did you see the peace pipe that was laying up there on the shelf? And she said no. And so I guess the Indian knew that one of us got it. But it went on to Virginia, and we still have it.
What about the FBI? Why were they there? I mean, how were they there without Were they right down with you?
No, just once in a while,
Just
an
on the
FBI
They were on a mile perimeter of Wounded Knee. They
Oh,
did not
yes.
come in where we were.
no, the FBI never ever came
no.
in to help us. They came in to, and really it was the, not the FBI so much as,
It was
they
all
were-
of the U.S. force.
yeah,
Marshals. It wasn't the FBI, the Marshals and
Department of
the...
Justice.
the marshals and the
what do you call it?
FBI formed the perimeter about a mile
Yes.
around us.
That's right.
So how
And
did you get your mail to them?
we never got any mail for the 10 days we were
But
in
you
there.
said you sent a package.
Oh, these men.
I mailed $25 worth of packages at one time.
We came, Gray and I came to town. We came down to Rushville here.
That was after it was all over.
Well,
No.
not,
Oh, no.
not all over.
They were running out of,
We had to have groceries,
yeah,
and we wanted to
And
get this.
prescriptions.
Yes, we had to have stuff to,
had a prescription
Yeah.
for Wilbur to get.
and we had to get that car deodorized. It was a horrible thing. It just would make you sick at your
You
stomach.
came by yourself, though? They let you out?
Yes.
Let us come through.
Let us come through, because we told them we had to go to town and get groceries. See, they had all of our
And
groceries.
prescriptions. And
We had to eat.
Sick
But they
boy.
held us, you see, they held me and Mary, and
What day was this like? Toward the end?
after the 72-day period was over, and AIM had agreed to leave Wounded Knee, had negotiated with the government demanded that they lay down their guns and come out peacefully. So they laid down all of their guns in a pile, and they went out. And after they had gone out, it was found that there were about 35 or 40
Make-believe guns.
make-believe guns made exactly like those shotguns and AK-47s, and one especially was made out of the bottom of one of our kitchen chairs. And what kind of a gun would they call it?
Or just a
Machine gun.
A machine gun.
Yeah, they had it on a
And,
swivel.
It swiveled.
Looked just like a
And
machine
you
gun.
see,
at a distance.
this was to fool the FBI and the marshals, who were about a mile away from them. And there were glasses, and they'd see things which they really and truly believed were guns. So the government just left the makeshift guns in there, and we gave Elmer Grimm the machine gun. So he has that as a souvenir. We gave a lot of the other guns, and we still have about 5 or 6 or 7 of them yet ourselves.
We had a couple of kids on top of the store.
Yeah, about
With
15-year-old boys.
They were guns.
They had real guns, though. We saw
But they
them.
could have shot anybody around the
They
place.
could have
there.
shot right through our
And they
lunchroom
know
window.
nothing kids.
And they did have some Russian guns.
Yes, they had. Actually, I saw one AK-47 deal, but I know that they different ones told me that they had 3 in the bunch.
Well, see, that morning that they agreed to go out, well, the 3 Indians went to Denby, and they held up Lyle Berzina, a friend of ours there, and a rancher, and demanded breakfast and all of his jewelry and all of the everything that they would need, and took his pickup and
And a check.
and they made him write a check for $300 to them, and they had the AK-47s. All 3 of the AK-47s went out with them.
He saw the 3 of them there.
Yes, he
This
saw
was after the 72 days?
that was after.
Well, it was after,
Same
like,
day,
during
yeah.
during part of our takeover, wasn't it?
It was after they agreed with the government to lay down their guns, but they fooled the government, and they laid down the artificial
Oh,
guns.
yeah, sure, we know that.
And took the real ones out, see? and these three, and then they got in the pickup and they went on to Rosebud, and that is where Lyle's pickup was found. It was
The
a
FBI
brand
didn't
new.
get him at all then.
Hmm?
The FBI wasn't
Never,
apparently watching
never
that area.
able to get the
No,
guns.
They got out.
They got up.
Oh, I believe that they have reported lately that one of the AK-47s was found down in Oklahoma, I believe.
Oh, yeah, I guess they did finally find
Yeah,
find
one-
some of that stuff.
one-
Some sort of a tunnel from your garage then to,
Yes, they tunneled from the garage out toward the house,
Yeah, to the house.
and well, not clear to the house, but toward the house. And I don't know, it's just an escape route, I think.
Mm-hmm.
See, they had what do you call them? Cubby holes. Actually, it was little rooms,
Bunkers, yeah.
yes, for the boys and the girls in the garage. See, they made a regular house out of my garage,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 4, 5, 6 or 8 cubicles built in there. See, and
Where they could sleep.
had their beds in there, in my garage. And then they had dug a tunnel out, the escape route, toward the house. And they could go out through that like a bunch of coyotes, see? In case
And then in
somebody
front of
did get in the
Mary's
garage,
house-
they could get out there.
They had a big, what do you call those ditches they dig where they get down in and shoot out?
Well, it's
Trench.
like a trench.
Bunkers.
Trench.
Trench. They had a big trench in front of Mary's house. They had to put boards over it before we could even walk into the house.
Then they had bunkers built.
Yeah, well, the bunkers are up on the, around the wounded.
Oh, they had bunkers all over. They had bunkers in the ditches along the highway.
They're still building those bunkers.
I was told
People all know about it.
several times by, friendlies, that they'd come and they'd say, we don't know who's buried over there, but there's a grave over there. We don't know who's in it. They're kind of scared. But they were the good Indians, see, that they didn't want any part of this outfit.
This is the man that negotiated.
And I don't know, I have no way of knowing how many was
Frizzell.
killed,
Yeah,
it's not
Frizzell.
been accounted for.
This is
But I believe these people that told me that. I believe that they were telling me the truth.
very.
What about the hole in the museum and then
Oh, yeah,
roof
they,
of the
Yeah.
they cut a great big hole in the southwest corner of the museum and dug a cellar out under the floor, and they had been mixing their Molotov cocktails in that cellarway there that they dug in the museum.
Yeah, a big hole, and
And,
they hid their guns and.
Of course, they had everything out of the museum. Before that, they'd taken everything out of the museum. It was cleaned. And we don't know where that stuff all went. We know where a little of it went. But they got some pretty costly stuff out of the museum.
It was too big, and it was really too big an affair for them to block all the entrances. You see, the Indians
You mean
knew
the- You mean the forces, or the government forces?
yeah, to and from Wounded Knee.
Well,
They were getting out all the time with
well,
them.
had the government handled it a little differently, had they sent the FBI in there, they could have done something.
Mm-hmm,
But they told the FBI to stay on this mile perimeter.
mm-hmm.
Naturally, they couldn't save our bacon down there.
Yeah, and George Coates, who stayed in all during the takeover, the 72 days, said that he bet at one time there was 1,000 people,
Oh, yeah.
whites, Chicanos, and what do you call those with the long hair?
Ames? Militant Ames?
Militant Ames, and in there, all mixed.
Well, they had everything in there.
And then when the food was getting short, Russell Means was getting mad, so he kicked all the Chicanos out and ran them all off of the reservation, ran them out. I don't know how
They said
Well, the
that
hippies were run out as soon as they.
Hippies, there was full
they
of
said that
hippies.
Negro girl was in there too,
Yeah,
Angela Davis.
Angela Davis.
I didn't see her, but
Oh,
they
no,
said
that
she was
after
there.
we left, yeah.
And there was a Negro man that was related to the man that was killed.
Reverend Abernathy was in
Yeah.
He was there.
Mhm. And
But I didn't see him.
when
I did.
Abernathy was getting off of the plane in Rapid City, Ruby was getting off of the same plane, and she found out that was Abernathy, and she went up and she shook hands with him.
So did Patty Kay.
Patty Kay, all of them, just to
I
say
said,
they.
you're in big business.
Wouldn't even
Spit in
want
his face.
to touch it.
I wouldn't. He was in Wounded Knee several days. I don't know where he slept on the floor, I suppose. Everybody slept on the floor. We slept on the floor every night
we
for
slept
10 days.
For safety, see, because
Well, we
there
have
was a
done
lot of
best.
shooting and
We never took our clothes
I
off. We
didn't know.
just,
We'd go in the bathroom, she and I together, would lock the door, we'd take our bath.
Yeah.
We'd put the same clothes back on,
then we'd get
and
going
we'd sleep in those clothes.
and sleep in them.
healthy things, do that. Take a bath, put your same
And the
clothes on.
dogs slept
And
with
can you
us.
imagine doing
We had
that?
2 dogs sleeping with us. That one was Jan's dog and the other was Fritz's dog.
That cute little dog of Jan's, huh?
And we saved it for them.
Chipped.
Chip.
She was
And little
nice.
dog, you never saw her until,
Never
No,
saw a little
no.
dog again for.
I went out
some-
one day and I was wondering where in the devil was Little Dog. I couldn't figure out what had become of her. And I was standing in front of our house. I was just trying to think, where would Little Dog go? And I could, I looked, it just happened to glance toward the trailer house where Wilbur lived. And I could see 2 little bright spots down there, and just glinting spots, you know.
Eyes.
And I got down, and I looked like that, and the little dog come out there, and she just was all over me. She just, boy, she was tickled, and I was just about as glad to see her as she was to see me.
She used to go up and live with Marshalls and with Brezinas.
President.
Brezinas.
Uh-huh.
She lived
They
with
fed her.
the Marshalls quite a bit there, I
Yeah,
guess.
she lived in the bunkers with the
They,
Marshalls.
to
With
this
Peter,
day, she
you
doesn't
know.
like Indians, does she?
No, oh
That
No,
dog.
she, when you can see, now, she will come, if I am around there any place, she'll come to me and I can see in the way she looks at me that there's Indians around.
Yeah.
It's a warning. And
my, she just.
she just simply hates them now. But some of them that are friendlies, she will let come in too, because she knows that they're accepted here.
Rose shots about the only ones.
Rose
She'll
shot.
bark at the kids, but she won't bark at
Won't,
them.
won't let anybody else in.
And
She
used to
just
bark
kind of
at
scowls at you, frowns at you when she sees Indians around like that, and she don't like them. And she'll look at you and with a regular frown, and you can see it in her face. And she just is telling you as plain as she could say it, that there's Indians around. And you know that there are.
You know what we're going to have for breakfast in the morning?
2 dogs sleeping with us. That one was Jan's dog and the other was Fritz's dog.
That cute little dog of Jan's, huh?
And we saved it for them.
Chipped.
Chip.
She was
And little
nice.
dog, you never saw her until,
Never
No,
saw a little
no.
dog again for.
I went out one day and I was wondering where in the devil was Little Dog. I couldn't figure out what had become of her. And I was standing in front of our house. I was just trying to think, where would Little Dog go? And I could, I looked, it just happened to glance toward the trailer house where Wilbur lived. And I could see 2 little bright spots down there, and just glinting spots, you know.
Eyes.
And I got down and I looked like that, and the little dog come out there, and she just was all over me. She just, boy, she was tickled, and I was just about as glad to see her as she was to see me.
She used to go up and live with Marshalls and with Brezinas.
President.
She lived with the Marshalls quite a bit there, I
Yeah,
guess.
she lived in the bunkers with
They,
the Marshalls.
To this
stay
day, she
there, you
doesn't
know.
like Indians, does she?
No, oh my.
No, when you can see now that she will come, if I am around there any place, she'll come to me and I can see in the way she looks at me that there's Indians around.
Yeah.
It's a warning. And
She just.
she just simply hates them now. But some of them that are friendlies, she will let come in too, because she knows that they're accepted here.
Rose about the only one.
Rose
She'll
shot.
bark at the kids, but she won't bark
Won't,
around.
won't let anybody else in.
She just kind of scowls at you, frowns at you when she sees Indians around like that, and she don't like them. And she'll look at you and there's a regular frown, and you can see it in her face. And she just is telling you as plain as she could say it, that there's Indians around. And you know that there are.
You know what we're going to have for breakfast in the morning? Hot cakes.
But
The night that AIM came in and they knocked on the Lansbury store, why, they had gone down into the cellar and hid and wouldn't answer. So they knocked and knocked and knocked, and they thought maybe they'd break the door down. And Mr. Lansbury was about to have a heart attack. So they waited till the knocking was through, and they came upstairs, and the Indian girl that was with them told them that they'd better get out of there before he does have a heart attack. So they got in their car, and they drove clear to Gordon, Nebraska,
Without
Indian-
any lights.
32 miles without any lights. They were so scared. They were in their night clothes and they had overcoats over.
It was Irene Jumping Eagle and her boy. That was
told them to get him out.
Yes, they were hiding in the cellar with them.
Did they go out through Denby or?
Yes, they went out to that road and through Denby and then right on into Gordon.
He drove without his lights on. He was so scared that
He was so scared.
Irene had told him not to turn his lights on so that he got out of there. But he didn't turn them on.
Never
He just
did
drove
turn them
all the way to Gordon without
No
any lights.
kidding.
He was just scared to death. That
And he
poor
went to
fellow.
the police station and he told them what was happening out at Wounded Knee. But see, they couldn't come out and help us because I had called Gordon too.
You'd called everybody.
Called,
Yeah, they wouldn't
called
come.
Martin,
Damn governor said
Oh.
he couldn't bring the
Gordon,
National Guard on the reservation.
called the governor.
I told her to tell him that I knew better than that because one day I'd come out after meat. I was going back and here's a whole highway full of National Guard. Must have been a mile of it. And I couldn't get around them because the highway was too narrow. And they might meet a car coming, see, and no place for you to go. So I just had to stay behind them and I had a bunch of fresh meat in the car. It was a hot day. And I told them not to say that they couldn't get the National Guard on the reservation because I had seen them on a reservation.
He wouldn't send
He
me.
would send them in
Nobody
anyway.
would.
He was so
He's a
angry
no
at her
good
for
guy
calling.
anyway. And he was the one guy that came into the museum on the anniversary of the massacre at Wounded Knee. And I told him, I said, I'm glad to, that was before I'd had this incident happen. I was sitting in there and had been operated on. And I didn't feel too good, but I was in there. I wanted to be there on that day. I had the habit of going in there on the 29th of December because that was the day the massacre took place. I wanted to see if anybody would have the nerve to come to Wounded Knee and to be there on that day. And this governor walked in, and so I congratulated him on being one of the first people that had the nerve to come on that particular day, visit Wounded Knee. And then he turned us down. He would not come in there and help.
No, said he had no jurisdiction out there that was on tribal land.
What did he say?
It was
you
not
should
on
do?
tribal land.
We
It was
were
on
not on
private
tribal
land.
We're on deeded land, I told him.
And the damned governor had been getting revenue from Wounded Knee for a lot of years. federal taxes.
Yeah, because yours was your own land.
You should
All right,
pay
but-
dearly for it, though, I'll tell you, because South Dakota has really taken a beating since AIM went in there. And it's the tourism is way down.
Rapid City. They just take it.
There's
Well,
most,
people will go
On the
around rather
reservation,
than
they
do
go round.
Right.
they're afraid to go through this.
Oh, they go to Mount
There you
Rushmore,
go.
but they won't go across the reservation.
I go out there once in a while. I go out, move the knee, look at it.
But you don't
Things make
dare
you
go out
sick,
at night.
Oh,
Nobody.
no, I wouldn't go out there at night. I'm not that damn fool
No.
to do anything like that.
What makes you sick?
Yeah.
And thanks.
But I'll go out at daytime.
No,
I'm gonna
I'm
take
too
these-
scared. I'm a
think
I'm
so.
a
I'm going
chicken.
to take these people from the motel here out there some of these days when they get,
Yeah, they want to go, don't
they
they?
want to go and see it.
Yeah.
I'm shutting up.
Go ahead.
We just had a lot of different reporters from all over the world, you might say. And I can't say exactly where these two were from, but they were young reporters. And the lady took ill. She was sick, and she really was sick. She went to the restroom, and we tried to do everything we could for her. She's nauseated, and we tried to fix things for her. And then this young man kept following around, and he went into the bathroom, came out, and when she came out, I said, well, would you like to lie down? And she said yes. And we had the cot in the utility room. It was always all fixed up, and the sheets were washed every day, because different ones slept in those places. So she was lying there, and he went in the room, and he was going to go to bed with her. And I looked at it and I said, now, is this your wife? And he said, no. He said, it's just a sisterly, brotherly feeling. We work together. And I said, well, you're not staying here. So you just take your sick wife and go someplace else. And they did. All right, now another little incident was when my sister Agnes and I went over to my sister Mary's house to get her some food because she could not eat all kinds of food, and she had home canned stuff that Ruby and Cecil left her, and we went to get some. We had to go into the bedroom to get it, and this big fat Indian woman by the name of Moose Camp was in there. And she didn't like the idea of us walking into that house and going around and getting things that were ours that we wanted. And so she followed us to the door. And she was hanging onto her jaw like this. I don't know what was wrong with her face. She gave Agnes a shove. And as, you know, to get out of here, stay out of here. And I turned around to her and I said, you son of a bitch. And I walked away. I mean, I ran because she chased me. She'd have caught me, she'd have wiped up the earth with
If
me.
you hit her, I'll hit you.
You did?
She did.
I didn't say, you hit her. I said, I'll pick up something. We got over to the house all right because there was those guards all around. They went after her for doing that. She didn't have any right to do that to us.
Well, kids, that's about all the Gildersleeves have to say. I was real proud to think that we'd be the first ones to get on tape what really happened at Wounded Knee. From all of our friends and hostages who lived through the ordeal, they said the magazines have been after the story, but they refused to give it out. I guess because of that lawsuit they have with the government. But they said that they would let us tape because we've been close friends for over 20 years, and so I'm getting it for you three kids, old Pamela McKenzie and Leonard Grimm and Susan Barney. Talking with them, they feel real close to all you kids. They remember the times when we'd sing on the back porch behind the trading post with Ruby and Wilbur Riegert. all the cookouts we had, and just sitting and visiting and looking at the stars. You got to remember, these days are gone forever. The little church we attended with these folks is nothing but a pile of ashes today. And the trading post and old Gildersleeve's home connected to the trading post. Just nothing but sweet memories. We'd, when we approached Wounded Knee every year, why, we'd all look for the little church on the hill, and when we get to the top of that one crest, why, that's the first thing we would see. And it would just be minutes till we'd be down shaking Gildersleeve's hand, and Mary Pike and Gurley Clark and Wilbur Riegert and Ruby and the whole gang, and what times we'd have. Well, I hope you kids can pass the stories down to your grandchildren. Anyway, that's about all I have to say now. So, this is your old man, or as Gildersleeves would say, Old Two Bulls. We'll see you.